So Curtis Eggemeyer, work for Lemi Shine, and I'm the CEO.
Joe Harvey, work for Lemi Shine. I'm the CFO, COO.
So for me, it comes down to two things, kind of really what I care about deeply within our business, and that's our people and our brand, and that's two things that we talk about continuously. And culture for us is the key. It even comes before the brand. Our brand exists because we have the culture that we have today, not vice versa. We essentially have 20 new individuals in a 26-person company in the last 2 years. So a very new culture and a lot that's going on. And one of those things that is difficult to measure is culture. From the brand standpoint, I mean, we have external reporting, internal reporting capabilities that we can measure the success and what's happening with our brand. With our culture, there were some things coming up that we needed to be able to truly measure, capture, and set initiatives against, and Workify answered all of those and helped us to accomplish what we sought out.
There's many different ways to look at culture, and one of the things about Workify is that it helps us understand how are we doing in each one of those areas. And one of our goals is to make sure that we're not missing in any particular area, and that we define what areas do we want to make sure that we succeed in, that we find particularly critical to where we're at in our current time and place, and what do we need to make sure we have succeed so that we can grow. Workify helps us understand how are we doing in each of those areas, how are we progressing in each one of those areas, and it helps us see where our natural strengths and weaknesses lie. I think what really put Workify on the map for me, and what really sold me on the concept of what Workify had specifically to offer, was the concept of knowing what the 12 buckets are, understanding here is the scientifically researched way of viewing culture as a whole, bringing that mutually exclusive, completely exhaustive list of topics to mind and for us to measure, and knowing that if we understand how we're meeting each one of these buckets, we will have a completely exhaustive view on the organization. Bringing that knowledge was pretty critical for me.
Culture is one of the most important things to us, and Workify helps us walk the talk, that we're not just talking about culture. It helps us engage with our employees in topics about culture, things that matter to them, from helping us congeal our values. We've gone through that, to 360 feedback, to the Net Promoter Score, things of that nature. It's really just been a huge proponent for us. So a lot of them ask the big question, how big of an organization do you have to be in order to launch a Workify? I think if you've got more than 4 people reporting to you, you need it, because there's just stuff that people don't feel comfortable with and telling you face to face. The anonymous feedback that Workify offers and they're able to give just really dials it in and allows people a voice without the face.
The client success team was really critical to helping us understand what is it we're trying to measure. They're very great about helping us do the deep dive into the communication and collaboration piece, giving us ideas of how do we get not just qualitative thoughts, but how do we put quantitative metrics to it as well. They're able to help us think through the questions, what the results would be, and making sure that we would get results from the questions we were asking that we could then take action on. Our employees are the largest asset that we have. Making sure that we're getting the most from our largest asset is important for us as a business, but I think also just as people.
So not surprising that the two that came up for us as the lowest scores were communication and collaboration. As we've developed and augmented each part of our team to be experts in their own realm, to get them to cross-collaborate and communicate efficiently and effectively was troublesome, as you could imagine, with the onset of new team members, bringing them together. So now what this has done is it's allowed us to capture the weakest link and talk about it. Let's set forth initiatives on what we can do to better ourselves in terms of collaboration and communication. So those are key topic points that we've actually set out and have meetings about within our regular management meetings, going through each of those initiatives. I mean, simply put, managers are talking with one another, not at one another now. And so everybody has their own respective expertise in an area. but it's going out, reaching out and saying, hey, we need your expertise within this process that we're working on. We need to invite you into that communication that we're having and collaborate on this project so that we can get it launched on time, on budget, and so on.
I think for the managers to understand why other groups need the information, why the collaboration needs to happen, also helps us improve our game, because we have a wider and broader appreciation for not just what our department's doing, but how that affects other departments, and how what we do can either help other departments or cause, slow other departments down. And I think that wider appreciation for how each department affects the other departments can be had the more we spend time talking about it. So when I think about the ROI of Workify, I really think about our employees, which are our largest assets, one of our largest expenses, and what do they contribute? And what they contribute is their time, and what they contribute is their thoughts, primarily. This is a thought-based organization. When I think about Workify and culture and understanding how our employees are thinking, I think about employee engagement. Workify really helps us understand what motivates our employees, what our employees are thinking, and helps us keep them actively engaged. If our employees are more actively engaged for an extra hour during the workday, maybe they think about work for another 15 minutes on their way in, they're more thoughtful about what happened after work on their way out for another 15 minutes, you're talking about some very reasonable assumptions, another hour to an hour and a half of employee time just for caring and listening to what they have to say, understanding that, and making sure that we are meeting their needs. It's really, for what we pay for Workify, for an extra hour to hour and a half of employee engagement during the day, it's really a very reasonable expense.